Hello, hello. It's story time. I got another story for y'all that I kind of came up with, got inspired from watching a movie, but I put my own part to it. So come on in, y'all. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, if you like it, like it. Share, comment, subscribe, follow. Help a girl out, help a girl out. So yeah, y'all, I want to thank y'all for your time and each and every moment you spend with Myra. So again, this story that I am about to talk about was inspired from a movie I saw. And hearing it, maybe you can guess what movie I saw that inspired me to kind of rewrite this story. Well, make it my own, I'll say. So, this story is about two brothers, mainly two brothers. And I'm going to say the name of my story is A Brother's Betrayal. I got my notes, y'all. Y'all know my mind. It's A Brother's Betrayal. Two brothers, Terry and Robert. And I'm going to give the parents' names. Just going to be Mr. and Mrs. Brown. So we got Terry, Robert, Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Okay. So listen, y'all. Well, first, I do hope y'all enjoy this. Okay. I'm going to get to it, right? Let me get to it. This brother's betrayal. A brother's betrayal. Okay. First, let me tell y'all about the characters. Mr. and Mrs. Brown are married. Terry is Mr. and Mrs. Brown's son. Robert is Mrs. Brown's son and Mr. Brown's stepson, which means that Robert was born first, right? So Robert was born first, and Mrs. Brown was not married to Robert's father. Let's say that. Okay. Now, Terry and Robert, brothers, because they do have the same mother, and their parents are married. So, even though he's a stepson, he is still a son. So, Mr. Robert was a problem. He caused a division between Terry and Robert because Terry, being his son, his biological son, he showed the attention and everything to Terry. Robert got the bare minimum. The most Robert got was bashed, belittled, degraded, put down, treated less than. So Terry had it in his mind, because of the way his father was treating him, that he was better than Robert. So he treated his brother bad as well, right? Now Mrs. Brown, being the mother, she stood up for her son. She tried to encourage her son, and she would, address the issue with Mr. Brown, the way he was treating Robert. But it didn't stop. But she did try. Let me tell y'all a little bit about this part that's relatable. I find relatable. I feel, this is me, I feel that when it comes to step parenting, if my child was being misused by the stepfather, it's my responsibility to stop it, because I'm the mother. I am the biological mother. So I'm putting my child in that situation to be hurt. So I need to get up out of there. That's just the way I feel. I feel that you can't blame the step parent, because many kids grow up and they do that. He treated me bad. But what did your biological parent do to stop it? They stayed in that situation. You being a child, they kept you in that situation. Again, in this story, Mrs. Brown did address the issue, but it didn't stop. And Mrs. Brown stayed married to Mr. Brown, although Mr. Brown was mistreating Robert. And he showed all the good to Terry. She kept him in that situation, whatever her reason was. In the end, I feel that if Robert had a problem, he needed to blame his mom, because his mom kept him in that situation for whatever reason. I mean, maybe she could explain it. It was financial, but my thing is, you cannot put the blame, well, all the blame, on the step parent, because your biological parent kept you in that situation. You are a child. That's just my thought, y'all. That's just the way I feel about that part. So anyway, the boys are getting older, becoming teenagers, and Terry pretty much did not acknowledge Robert as his brother. They went to school together, they went outside together, but it was like he was a stranger, embarrassed by him. Okay. One reason being, Mr. Brown used the word bastard a lot when it came to Robert. You're a bastard, because his father did not marry the mother. Are you mad at the father? Get mad at the father and the mother. I mean, because this child did not ask to be here. Robert was conceived, whether it was out of love, it was a mistake, but Robert is here. Their parents didn't get married, but Mr. Brown made it clear, you are a bastard. Terry's listening to this. Terry's not a bastard. His parents are married. You are. So that's just the way he felt about his own brother, because he hear his father saying it all the time. You're a bastard. You're nothing but a bastard. Your own father didn't care about you. I'll say it's a reason the mother was no longer with Robert's father, whatever that reason may be. So she did something there for him. Again, Mrs. Brown always try to encourage Robert. If Mr. Brown says something, Mrs. Brown would like go back. No, you're this, and you're better than you're love. That, you know, she tried to make him feel love because Mr. Brown bash, bash, bash. And then on top of that, Terry bash, bash, bash. I think they were maybe, I'll say, 15 and 17. Terry being 15, Robert 17. I'm making this story up now, okay? And Mrs. Brown took sick. So Mrs. Brown passed on. So now Mr. Brown has 2 boys. Now we know how he feel about Robert, and we know how he feel about Terry. Terry is his. Robert is not biological. By marriage, yes. But as Robert was growing up, Mr. Brown had no shame of showing him just how he felt about him. It was no secret. You are a bastard, you know. You're not going to be anything. But Terry is great. Terry is up here. You are down here. Terry felt that same way. After Mrs. Brown passed on, Robert knew he was on his own, right? So he kept to himself, tried to stay out of Mr. Brown's way, because he needed to stay there. He was afraid Mr. Brown was going to put him out. He went to school, regular school, night school, studied hard, and he became a lawyer. He put himself through school, work. You know, he tried not to be a problem or get in the way, get in Mr. Brown's way. Mr. Brown was still, you know, bashing him. He took it, but he was like, he had to find a way. He knew he could not be there. His time was limited. He knew one day Mr. Brown was gonna, you got to go. You're not mine, you know. So he was trying to be prepared for that. And by him going to school, regular school, night school, summer school, he was school. And, you know, he became a lawyer. So now he's a good lawyer, right? And he was able to move out and get his own. Meanwhile, Terry was still at home with his father. And Terry had got so spoiled that he didn't think he needed to work. He didn't think school was important to finish, you know, or try to get a degree. And, like, he wasn't worried about responsibility, taking care of himself, because his father always did that for him. But Robert being a lawyer, and Robert loved his brother. Robert still loved his stepfather. He helped him out financially because he was making money. He's good, right? That didn't still change the way Mr. Brown felt about Robert. So, as hard as Robert tried, knowing that he was on his own, trying to show Mr. Brown, I made something of myself. He just wanted an approval, you know. He never got it. But it did come down to Mr. Robert telling Terry, you got to get a job. You know, I need you to help me out, right? What? Not the golden child. No, not the golden child. So now Terry is jealous of Robert because Robert then made something of himself. And now my dad saying, I gotta get a job because you got a job, you know. Wow, really? Really, Dad? I gotta go get a job? He didn't. He didn't. But the father kept, hey, he was very adamant. Okay, Terry, you're grown now. Now he's trying to put down some guidance. You know, make him be responsible. You spoiled him. And you put in his mind that he's better than Robert. And Robert just proved not that he's better than Terry, but that he could make something of himself. Everything that Mr. Brown said he wasn't going to do because he's nothing but a bastard. That his father didn't even want him. Again, when Mrs. Brown passed, Robert knew he had to do something. And he did. He didn't ask for no help. He just dedicated school, work. He had a goal, and he did it. He did it. So with that said, don't let nobody tell you you're not good enough. You got to love yourself. Self-love. Love yourself. I've been on that side where I was verbally abused. Felt like I was adopted. Like, if I didn't look like my father, I would have thought the child adopted me because I was raised by a step-parent. Although my father was in my life, my father and mother wasn't living together. They did get married, but they separated, and I was raised by my stepfather. Yeah, you go through that verbal abuse and you're like, wait a minute, why am I being treated like this? Again, if I did not look, and this is the truth, if I did not look like my father, I thought I was adopted. Like, no, ain't no way y'all could treat me like this. What about why y'all not treating them like this? Why me? Why me? Yeah. So I can relate to that. That's why when I saw this movie, you know, I like relatable movies, meaningful movies, true. Well, you know, this actually happens. It actually happens in the home. People do make up stories, write movies, but I like the ones where, again, you know, this happens. It's still happening. But I am here to tell you, if you are going through that, take your deep breath and do what Robert did. Try to stay out the way and do what you need to do. Set your goals and do it. And do it. You can fight them with proving them wrong. Yes, fight them with proving them wrong. You don't have to argue with them, be mad, hate them. Prove them wrong. Just prove them wrong. Okay, back to Terry getting a job. Terry still didn't get a job. You know, Dad, why? You can take care of me. You know, because Mr. Brown was okay financially, yeah. And if he wanted to, he could take care of Terry for the rest of his life, as long as he was here. But I don't know if he had a change of heart, but anyway, I guess he felt like it's time for you to be a man. You need to grow up and Not just only help him out, okay? Contribute. Buy your own food. Buy your own clothes. You know, be a man. You may want to go out and get yourself a family. Be a man. He even went and talked to Robert, because by this time, Robert had his own practice. Robert was a successful lawyer with his own practice. You know, can you just give me a job, you know? Yeah. Robert gave him a job. That's his brother. That's his brother. Robert was a good son. Robert was a good brother. Although he was being treated wrong, he still, you know, that's just how they treated him. It's not how he treated them. So yeah, he gave his brother a job, paid him well. But he didn't think that, he didn't appreciate it. Yeah, that's what it is. He didn't appreciate it, right? He felt like, now you think you got something over me because I had to come to you for a job, which he didn't have to. He could have got another job. His father never said, you got to go get a corporate job. You got to go and get a degree. He said, get a job. His brother gave him a job. Let's get this clear. Robert, the successful lawyer, gave Terry, the brother that didn't want to even claim him as a brother, a job. And I'll say maybe a year had passed. And Terry was still working for Robert, but slacking off. Like, you gonna pay me if I come to work or not? No? Okay. Robert is a successful lawyer. He has his own practice. But again, you gotta work. I gotta work. You gotta work to get paid. Oh no, Terry didn't like that. No. I'm your brother. You gonna do me like this? Come to work. So yeah. Oh yeah. Robert fired him. Get real. Get real now. Okay. Y'all both grown. Here's another relatable part in this story. My sister and I work for the same company. And I was a supervisor. I was not her supervisor, but I was over her. I could tell her what to do, right? So when she came to this company, I asked one of the supervisors. I said, can you give my sister an interview? That's all I asked him. Can you give her an interview? He did. And he hired her, right? And like if my sister did something wrong, he would come to me. Myra, can you talk? No, I'm not talking to her. I talked to her once. I told her, look, we got a job to do. I got to come to work. You got to come to work. I got to work to get paid. You got to work to get paid. Ain't no favoritism over here. I'm not about to go and say, don't do this. Don't write my sister up. No, I'm not. You got hired in to do a job. You got to do that job. I talked to her once, and I showed her once. When this truck come in, don't wait on nobody to tell you, go check that truck. Go check that truck. If somebody else going and they beat you first, then they beat you first. But make a move. Make a move. You got a job to do. You know how to do it? Get to it. And I also told her supervisor, if she's not doing her job and you fire her, no love lost. All I did was ask you to give her an interview, and you did that. Nobody's doing no handouts. If you get hired for a job, that owner need that job done. That owner need you to show up for work and get the job done. Otherwise, he gonna bring somebody else in to get it done. He not paying you for nothing. So Terry thought Robert just gonna give him a check every week. And he wasn't being vindictive. He got a business to run. He hired you because you was his brother, yes. But at the same time, he needed this job done. You weren't gonna do it? He gonna get somebody to do it. So now, yeah, Terry's really upset. Go home, talk to the father, bashing, Robert. He did this and he did that. He fired me. Yeah. So, yeah, Mr. Brown is on Terry's side. I told you he was nothing. I told you he's not going to be nothing. He don't care about us. So now, Terry got his father off his back with this job thing for a little while. Just for a little while. Anyway, in the back of Terry's mind, he hated Robert. Again, he thought Robert owed him something. He couldn't let that go, that his brother fired him, even though he got his father off his back. But now, he still needs money. His father was helping out, but every now and then he would say, you need to do for yourself, It wasn't as bad as it was at first, but he was still letting them know why. This is how a man is supposed to be. Now you want to tell him that, as opposed to buying him everything, giving him everything, not teaching him to be responsible. Now you're trying to do that. So, anyway, here comes the betrayal. Terry kills his father. Yes, Terry kills his father. Now, y'all, Robert goes to jail for it. This was Terry's plan. He killed his own father to get back at Terry. To get back at Robert. I'm sorry. Terry kills his father, Mr. Brown, to get back at Robert. Robert goes to jail for what Terry did. So, when someone dies, they, question the relative, the closest relative, who's in the house or whatever. And yes, they question both sons, and asking about the relationship, how was y'all relationship, and all of Robert's life, Mr. Brown and Robert, they just didn't have a good relationship. So right away, Robert was the suspect. And it was so easy to prove just with Terry being a witness that, his father and him didn't get along. When he became successful, when he became a lawyer, he would come to that lying on him, just lying on him. But what stuck was the fact that it was believable because of how Mr. Brown treated Robert growing up. So the jury believed that Robert got on his feet. Robert became successful and went back being vindictive not right away to kill him, but Terry was making it seem like once Robert became successful, he would come like throw it in their faces, throw it in Mr. Robert's face, Mr. Brown face, y'all, I'm bad with name, that Robert, the successful lawyer, would come back. Now I'm going to throw it in your face, throw it in your face. Which I feel that you can get them back by proving them wrong. But on this part, Terry was saying this is what Robert was doing. Oh, now he's successful. He want to come back and, bash my father and, and all this. And he made it seem like one day he just snapped and killed Mr. Brown. Yeah, he wasn't there, but, he was like, he the one had to do it, because he had been coming over, like they just argued all the time. And that was not true. But it was believable because of how Mr. Brown treated Robert growing up. So I was like, okay, now he on his feet. He want to come back, and do something. But this day he was like, maybe he just snapped and killed him. And he was shot. So he was shot. So Terry made it seem like, yeah, he took gun lessons, and so he knew how to shoot. And Robert didn't own a gun. Robert knew the law. But Robert went to jail for life behind that. Terry killed his father to blame it on Robert, his loving father, just to send his brother to jail for life. Now, I'm not sure what would have happened if it went the other way. But, again, Robert knew the law, so why would he do that? Again, by Robert knowing the law, he knew it was also would be easier for them to blame him than Terry. So, right now, Robert is in jail fighting his case. And Terry got the benefits of everything Mr. Brown had in his possession. Everything Mr. Brown owned, Terry got it. Killed his loving father and let his brother take the blame. And now I guess he feels he's financially okay. So his brother has no practice in jail, and his father and mother are gone. So, with this said, y'all, this is just it. It may be a part 2 because Robert is fighting his case, but he has been sentenced to life for the murder of his stepfather. So that's the brothers. I should have said brother and son betrayal. Right? Anyway. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Again, it might be a part 2. But I hope you enjoyed this one.